Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Tonight, my guest is Noble Anpu. He's going to be discussing real estate, wealth building, and esoteric undercurrents. At 19, Noble was well invested in mutual funds. At 22, he launched his first .com. Now, founder of the Property Investment Group, LLC, he has personally scaled the brands of entrepreneurs, helping some reach six figures. Noble Anpu is an author and life coach who has consulted with some of the biggest celebrities in entertainment. He is credited with having helped his clients obtain more than $5 million in testimonials. Noble's major focus is on eliminating the racial financial wealth gap and driving the culture from an unaccredited low net worth to an accredited high net worth. He has teamed up with artists, entrepreneurs, individuals, and other businesses to create ventures that will spawn wealth creation, wherein the community as a whole may share in prosperity. In addition to all that Noble Anpu does, he is adept in several esoteric and metaphysical modalities. I am so happy today to welcome to this particular venue. I think I can call him my friend since I've known him now for about 10 years, Noble Anpu. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Dr. G?
How you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Got my little background music playing back there. So we'll let it rock out a little bit. Normally I have these long bios that I gotta read, and I get somewhere to the end of the music. But what I usually tell people that if the music is still playing, they had to rock with me and all that stuff. But as you can see, I'm laid back today. I'm at the beach. I'm at the Outer Banks. You can see in the background. I was at the Outer Banks last month, and this is an actual picture of the beach, from the beachfront where I was staying while I was there. And I loved it so much, I've made it my background. And I don't know about you, it's hot as, you know what? So I'm going to make pretend I'm near the cool water of the Atlantic Ocean.
That's what's up. Absolutely.
Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. It's been 5 years since you and I think, have conversated. You and Minister Jew were guests on my show, Reawakening Minds, back in 2016 on High Frequency Radio Network. And you remember that? I don't know what happened, but something went out. Remember, if you remember, and you continued to talk, and I was gone or something. I don't know whether. Do you remember that? It was something.
Not necessarily off top. Yeah.
Well, something strange happened at with that particular at the end, and you all were saying, well, we were steady talking, and you were gone.
Gotcha. No, I don't really remember too much, but
maybe I went to sleep. Maybe I was tired because back then it was a 3-hour every Monday.
Right.
But listen, thank you so much. I hear a little feedback, so I'm gonna mute you for just a second. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. Like I said, I know you're busy and all of that. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. I don't know how to get this sound out, but I want you to start out by at least sharing a little bit about who Noble Anpu is. We just had an interesting conversation. That was stuff you didn't share when we met back in 2011. So tell us about you, because I think it's interesting based on where you come from to realize where you are, but where you came from. They say it's not that important as where you start, but where you finish, but you've come a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. The journey, the journey started, I will say, it's so many different stages of it. You know what I mean? Like it'd be really long, but to bring it up to, I can always say it started with my father, who seeded me when I was a freshman in high school, I'm the one who took Roots to school, and I passed the whole English class because I had the video series of Roots. So that was a seed. Another seed he gave me was, Chuck. That's what they call me, Chuck. Racism is in the job market. And these are little seeds that I'm getting as a kid. But, as I look back as a grown man, is wonder why I'm kind of to a degree anti-job for me personally. You know what I mean? Speed things up to, my young adulthood in my 20s. I was in the streets and had so much time on my hands. I was bored. I'd go to the bookstore and be looking at books, philosophy for dummies, astrology for dummies, but I wouldn't touch the books when I would get home. It was the weirdest thing in the world, but I'd be in the bookstore looking at these books, but I swear to you, when I get home, I wouldn't crack these books. I wouldn't even touch them. And so I personally resigned from the game and just left it alone. Just had a higher awakening. Inner truth was coming out. It was kind of like what I call in my Malcolm and Huey P stage of consciousness. You angry, and rightfully so. Goddamn, excuse me, but slavery and racism and Rodney King, and so you upset and you go through this. I think the first stage awakening for a lot of people will be Black Power, what they would call Black Power. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Before you get to the other schools of thought, the Moore school of thoughts, and it's only black so-called black folks, whatever. And I know where I'm at, y'all. So when I say the term black, just forgive me. I'm just talking a general term, like I'm talking to a hip hop community, because that's really my audience is the core. I'm not talking to the Moors per se. I'm talking to the general layman. So give me the pass, okay? And so when we dealing with when we come through different stages of awakening, usually you're going to come through a Black Power, red, black, and green type of philosophy in a sense. You're going to go through Islam, whether it be the Nation of Islam or more science, right? And then you may go Hebrew Israelite. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you those three schools of thoughts are the predominant schools of thoughts when the Black person wakes up out of Christianity in a sense, and they want to kind of join a bigger, population to do something, right? So, went through those schools of thoughts for sure. And, long story short, I just went on the road. I was driving trucks, man. I met a guy who was a 5%er, and me and him started kicking in and talking because I had just come from the Nation of Islam at that particular time. And we building and we talking, and we'll never forget, we going through North Carolina. He swing through a brother named Aline Bay store, and I met him for the first time, and we talking about family. And my family actually comes from Kinston, North Carolina on my mom's side, and migrated to Louisiana, the same route Noble Ali family took. And this Washita information I'm finding very interesting because the timelines and the absolute mass, the states of North Carolina and Louisiana are identical and stuff. So I'm like, oh, this may be something. Looking into something. The next thing you know, 06 come, and I go to a black bookstore in Philly, and I get a DVD. It's called The Great Meeting 2. And see this brother named Ali Muhammad was on it. He was in Philly. I track him down. I start going to these meetings. The next thing you know, I'm like, hey, can I open for you? Then I'm doing these like 30-minute open ups for them. And that's when the books came in handy, because all of a sudden it's like I understood it. And so now when I open the books, it was like just clicking. And then I would just share with people my piece. And I've always had a natural skill set for understanding astrology, the cosmic part, and just sharing that information with people. And I just pretty much scale from there. So when I mean scale from there, it went from, now I'm teaching classes. Now I got DVDs on it. Now I got a book on it. You know what I mean? And just now I'm taking trips and taking people out of town to Sedona, and we meditating and we getting into consciousness. Now I'm studying the mind. So it's just always a constant point of evolution and just evolving in a nutshell. So
can I add that, and I just ask you this, that you are an Aquarian, and as an Aquarius or Aquarian, that Aquarian, I told you, my dear friend Granshik Tashtarik Bey is an Aquarian, and he's, quirky, but very, very informed with things on an esoteric level. You know what I mean?
And I got my Aquarius shirt on today too.
Oh, okay. Now I can see.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely the Aquarius, for sure. Absolutely.
Listen, before we go further, I forgot to say this. We need you to like, and we need you to share that we're on. This is going to be awesome. You're not going to miss this. Want to miss this information? Y'all, thank you. Numbers are going up. Share, like, right, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As we continue. So when I first met you, I don't even know. Out in 2010, December 2010, I had my awakening. Won't go through that, but that's when I had my awakening. 2011. Now I'm actually dealing with, congregation was gone, and it was a handful of folks that still believed that I wasn't crazy, and somehow I don't know how I did it, but our paths crossed, and you came to the House of Reawakening Minds, and I don't even know, we were probably calling it the House of Ram then.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we're calling it House of Ram, which is actually what Reawakening Mind stands for. And you did an awesome workshop for us. And back then you were not only talking about astrology, but you were actually doing aura readings. And you gave me, yet not me, but us, this, jaw-dropping presentation on, I think it was Hollywood I don't know what to call
Yeah,
it.
probably like a Hollywood decoded or something.
Decoded.
Right.
And yeah, so what we're hearing today now a lot about, and I've said this to you, Gematria, murder by the numbers, different things like that. We're hearing about this. 10 years ago, you were at the House of Reawakening Minds, and you were talking about this. And I remember I think the number is 13 or at least 33, which I've heard more about. You broke it down with how that whole thing happened with OJ, and how, they let him go for a little while, but then the numbers, everything made sense by the numbers. And what you're saying to me now and to us now is the knowledge that you had to do that. You were saying you had just sort of, it was like a download. It was like an evolutionary, like a cosmic download. Or how did you learn how to see that kind of those patterns?
Yeah, it's, I call it an implosion, you know what I mean? Because it's something that happens from within. So we all have it, right? It's something tells you to, open up this book and get this book and, read it. And then you find something that validates what you was looking for to satisfy that thirst, And so that thing that told you to look, that's the higher self that's leading you and whatnot. And so I just got to it by listening to it. You know what I mean? Like, you make these decisions and, go here, open this book up, listen to this information. That's how it happens, And I got a book, Godwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia. You know what I mean? It's crazy, the truth. You know what I mean? And I would be remiss I didn't say, it's a brother named A. Rashid who had put the Kabbalah into what we would call the conscious community. And so when I looked into it, it was something that the Hebrew and Kabbalah was one of the easiest things to grasp for me, because the language deals with planetary zodiac information, meaning there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. 3 of them go to elements, 12 of them go to the zodiac sign, the remaining 7 go to the 7 planets, which are the 7 days of the week, which, the Moors are familiar with the circle 7. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be real easy because this is cosmic. It's a cosmic language. And so there's this system that was created from something called the Sefer Sephiroth D, or Liber D. And in that book, the Gematria, or the Kabbalistic Encyclopedia, in the very back, what they did was they took anything that has a biblical reference, whether it's a name of a city, the name of a person, a concept, whatever. And like, for example, Adam, ADM, Adam's name equals 45 because the A is 1, D is 4, and when M is 40. So that's 45. And so anytime you see, anything that's a biblical name or something, it has a numerical value to it. And so Spirit at that time, it's an old video of me on YouTube where it say Bro Anpu on Kabbalah. I got the fez on, and I'm dealing with like Kobe Bryant, for example. when Kobe went from number 8 to 24, if you look up 24 in the encyclopedia, it is a mercurial god whose number is 8. And I'm like, wait a minute, Kobe Bryant is a Virgo. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. But how is it that we're looking into the number 24, but 24 is telling you it deals with the planet Mercury and the number 8, and that was his previous number. And even with, I did something with like, now I forget how she came up, but it was like Oprah. When we took Oprah's name, you know, the O could equal 6, the P is 80, the R is 200, and so forth. When you do Oprah's name, and then you go look up that number said Oprah, mother of Goliath. And I'm like, oh, snap, wait a minute. People are tapping into their superhero archetype. Maybe they know it, maybe they don't, and it's corresponding to this particular system. And so it was seeing that correspondence was like, okay, let me start sharing this information in a sense. And here's the thing too, because a lot of times, and I know I did, we think that there is a system that is purposely making people do these things and play these things out like a ritual. But I dare say this: what if there's not every single time? What if there's not even half the time? But even when there's not something and it lines up, then what? Because see, now the work, when you start to progress through the work, and like I said earlier, I released this video earlier today on YouTube called Hip Hop Astrology TV on Lil Durk. Man, every time Lil Durk brother just got killed 2 days ago, like on the 6th. Ladies and gentlemen, every time the planet Mars is in Cancer, I got at least 3 cases where Dirk's friends or family members got shot and murdered when Mars is in Cancer. Every single time. Like now the question begs to say, wait a minute, hold on. What if it ain't a plan? Because this is what we would call black on black crime. What if it's just energy? And we're subconsciously and even unconsciously, because we're not aware, we're unconsciously picking up on it. And then we say, you know, tonight I feel like getting gangster. But what's really happening is the cosmic atmosphere is a reflection of what you're feeling, and the likelihood of an event popping off is a little bit more strenuous. So let me go to this one point. I figured out an algorithm that airplanes, famous deaths like Martin Luther King Jr., the death of Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, these horrific deaths that make the world stop and mourn, the Boston Marathon bombing, the Charleston church killing, even when police themselves get shot and killed, okay? I said airplane crashes, right? These events are all on the same algorithm. And then I started making predictions based upon the algorithm, and anybody who knows my work can verify it. And I got all the timestamps because I posted on Twitter, because Twitter tells you the date that you posted something. I'll post it beforehand and tell them a famous person is about to die on these particular 3 days. The likelihood of a famous person die, if they're gonna die, will be like right here. And then the famous person dies, or the airplane crashes. So one year, NASA rocket Antares, I want to say maybe it's 14 or 15, but NASA rocket Antares had exploded. They tried to put it up in the air, and it was on my red day. So I said, oh, this is why I said, Dr. G, I said, NASA don't know shit. They don't know what we know. And so we under the perception that some elite group of people has this master science. Right. And I am telling you that that's not necessarily the case. And I just want to raise a question of, what if it's something else besides somebody orchestrating something? Then what is that? Yeah. And then even if it was somebody, guess what? That means we got the playbook to know when a famous person gonna die, when the airplane gonna crash, when NASA rocket gonna go down, and who gave us the playbook? They ain't give us the playbook. So now we know way beforehand, you know what I'm saying, what the future foretells. But see, that's the whole science of the feds, man. Like, you really supposed to be having this knowledge of how this thing goes around. Like I said in the earlier video today, our whole reality is about what goes around comes around, whether it be the earth spinning on its axis and giving the illusion that the sun is rising and setting in a 24-hour period, and then we going around the sun 365 days. So what goes around comes around. Our whole reality, these eyeballs, these ear circles, our whole reality of perception is all based on a circular motion. So now, since we know how to measure the reality, then it should be easy for us to cast thoughts into certain pockets of space in the future and then make things materialize. That's the name of the game.
So well, that's interesting that you say that, because I know part of what you do with your group is meditation, and I'm sure you're meditating on manifestation, but you're saying that if we were on the same sort of wavelength and frequency, whatever we wanted as a collective unit, we could project that and make it.
Man, what is it? We called it galactic activation. Remember, I had a DVD out that was called Galactic Activation, and Minister Jew said, bro, you need to put that thing in the ground in a time capsule. It's way ahead of its time. Galactic Activation showed you when we get together. In my earlier days, like it all started in 2011. You was mentioning number 13, right? And 33, but specifically 13. It was December 31st, 2010. I did a show called The Science of the Number 13. And in all of 2011, I did an exposition on showing you how we can program numbers based off collective meditation. And I'll give you one. December 31st, 2010, I had told people it was an upcoming eclipse coming, and it was going to come on January the 3rd of 2011. Okay. And so January the 3rd, I looked at like, oh, that's 1-3, that's 13. And this eclipse was going to come at approximately about 13 degrees Capricorn. And so I know the cosmic science very well. Opposite 13 degrees Capricorn is 13 Cancer. 13 Cancer is exactly where Sirius is. This is why the United States government has 13 stars and stripes in the beginning in the 13 colonies, because it is paying homage and respect and aligning itself with the great mother star Sirius, which is said to be our sun's sun. Okay. The United States is rooted inside of a cosmology that is 100% about the upliftment and spiritual progression of not just humanity, but specifically what has historically been called the Asiatic black man, Negro, black, whatever you want to call this. Okay. I want to be perfectly clear on that. And so there was, we did a meditation on Sirius, and, you know, long story short, if you go look it up, I guarantee you in 2011 of January, the magnetic pole shifts so drastically out of the blue that Tampa Bay Airport had to close their runway because the planes couldn't land because of the magnetic field was off. The poles just did a radical shift. Go look it up. Somebody look it up and verify it. And the third, open up a window and look it up. Tampa Bay closed airways because it was a magnetic pole shift. And then I said, now look at that. Now we concentrated on the great mother star and sent thought. Is this a reflection of our thought? Now, on January the 13th that year of 2011, go look it up. You're going to see this guy come out, an astronomer, and say, there's not 12 signs, there's 13 zodiac signs. And that happened on January the 13th. But I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why that man said that is because, see, remember the law. Y'all know the Kabbalion, the laws of mentalism. The first law is mentalism, and the second law is correspondence. Correspondence means you gotta break out your tracing board, and you have to show that how this equals this. You understand? In other words, you got to prove the mind of God. Okay. So Dude saying that it was 13 signs on the 13th after we did already came out with a show said the science of the number 13, and we're the ones doing the meditation where planets are at 13 degrees, by the way, and whatnot. On the 13th day, he had to come out and say it was a 13th sign because what he was with the Matrix called Agent Smith. In a nutshell, you can send your thoughts via ether and somebody else pick it up. You do it all the time. Me and you having a conversation, and next thing an idea pop up in your head. All ideas don't pop up from within. You got to understand, where did the idea come from? Hello, you ever had the coincidence where you was thinking about somebody and you called them and they called you? I was just thinking about you. Yeah, because you sent them the signal. That's why.
You're right. And yes, because that happened to me yesterday. As my sister Abundance, Abundance child. Abundance and I have, we're both have the same solar return, March 17th, different years, years difference. We're working on something together. This raw, we've been reconnected. I was thinking about her, and she was telling me, make sure you take this vitamin, make sure you do this at a certain time, because we don't drink water. We were talking about fish that don't drink water is terrible. So we're going to be accountability partners. So I was getting ready to take my pills, and I said, gosh, let me take a picture of myself getting ready to take my pills so I can send it to Abundance. The phone rang. It was Abundance asking me, at the exact same time.
That's right.
I'm getting ready to send her, take a picture, and she's calling me on the exact same thing. And it's just like you said. So it does happen. But I do you think that maybe we disregard what that intuitive? Would you call it intuition?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Intuition is a fine word. You know what I mean? I like to call it transcendental consciousness, because the word psychic. The word psychic to me just don't really tells what's happening. The reason I like to call it transcendental consciousness is because your thought just transcended space, because you're not in the same space,
right?
And it transcended time. You see what I'm saying? So when you get a thought about something, or not even just a thought, when you get foresight about something, the vision about something, and then it happens later, it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't quote unquote on the same timeline or the same space. So wherever that came from, it transcended space and time. Hence, I call it transcendental consciousness is what's taking place. But if we do that on a collective level, and that's what galactic activation was about, which I'm proposing that we do on the second. Notice ain't nobody talking about the American eclipse, because I'm gonna tell you something, we behind the ball, and this is everything is cool when it's in the moment, because it's a microwave culture. There's going to be an eclipse on April the 8th, 2024, that's going to cross the Americas like the one in 2017 did on August 21st in that Turner eclipse. And I'm proposing that on that particular eclipse, we get together and do a grand activation, because it really is going to have everything to do with the reestablishing yourself on the throne. For real, because I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm gonna tell y'all who wanted to do y'all in when it's just clear on the so-called white side, and it was them Confederate boys. And if you look at the American eclipse of August 21st, 2017, and the American eclipse of April 8th, 2024, they're going to form an X, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna give y'all the game, okay? Thank you. X marks the spot. So it's going to form an X, right? And that X is going to go over Southern Illinois. Now look this up. Southern Illinois was known as Little Egypt. Facts. There's a town called Cairo, Illinois, at the bottom of Illinois, like Cairo, Egypt. If you go up the river, there's another town called Thebes, like Thebes, Egypt. Okay. All of that, there's something called Pyramid State Park that's there. So historically speaking, Little Egypt is Southern Illinois in America, okay? And I'm telling you, the second eclipse is going to come there, and it's going to go over this place called Maconda, Illinois, like Wakanda. Now watch this. Maconda, Illinois sits in this wilderness called Panther's Den. Now, was it Wakanda about the panther? Now, I want somebody to verify that. Somebody open up a window, type in Maconda, Illinois, Panther's Den, and see if I'm lying. And there's another city a little bit north of Cairo along the Mississippi that is called Future City, ladies and gentlemen. So for the real master builders, and that soil is always rich because you're close to the Mississippi, for the real master builders, you are to do something great on that particular landmass. And my point of saying that was, when we get to 2024, April 8th, because remember, the Confederates who wanted you as a slave, which was your worst physical state, they surrendered on April 9th, 1865. April 8th and April 9th is the same space. Don't get it twisted because it's a day off. It's the exact same space. Space is very intelligent because it has a working memory of who you are. And this is why you celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and stuff, because the space means something. You're not celebrating a date per se on the calendar. When you do that, the earth is in the same position in reference to the sun, and they're both in front of the same constellation every single year that you do that. So a calendar is just a representation of where you are in space. Today you call it June the 8th, but today to us it may be known as 13 degrees Cancer. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know what I mean? So, that's the game.
I found the I found the, I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I did find the Maconda thing.
Yeah.
It says, let me read it. Maconda is a village in Jackson County, Illinois. As of the 2010 United States Census, the population was, drumroll, 561, up from 419 in 2000. In the early 20th century, it used the slogan "Star of Egypt."
And
that's, but
see, Star of Egypt.
Yeah. And I also did find the Tampa, the January 10th January 2010 Tampa shut down due to magnetic.
Right. That's right. You found that?
Yeah, I did find that.
I'm telling you. And that comes from a meditation that you do. You can make the pole shift. All of these things is created off the Son of Man experiment with high explosive that came through a whole nother school of thought of Islam, but yeah.
Well, I'm probably going to blur myself out a little bit. Let me see if I can get back in subject matter, back in. But it was interesting. I just, since we're talking about this, I happened to purchase the Final Call. That on the cover says the battle in the sky is near. And it talks about for 90 years how the Nation of Islam was mocked and ridiculed for its teaching on the mother plane and its aim purpose. Now the government admits these UFOs are real, vindicating what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have warned of and prophesied. Do you have any insight into, because I've heard some others, and I know we'll be talking about the real estate, we'll get there, but any insight as to the reality, if you will, that there might be have always been sort of what we call a mother plane, maybe just close, hang over what we call.
Right. So you have an external and you have an internal. I'm looking at somebody in the chat. That somebody asked a question. So what's going to happen on that eclipse? That's for us to determine based off our consciousness and our intention. That's 2024, Bodhi Wati. And then Rex Omar says something pretty good. Panther Den Wilderness is in Union County, Illinois. Now behind me, and I'm gonna answer that question. But listen, I'll physically fight anybody. I don't know if y'all can see it over here, but Union County, Illinois. When you're dealing with Illinois, you know what I'm saying. You're really dealing with Lincoln, because Illinois is known as the land of Lincoln. When you're dealing with the Union, you're dealing with the group of dudes who came and put that work in against the other European. So my point is about that eclipse. We got to unite with. We just got to keep it real, man. And keeping it real is you got to understand. And that's one thing I love about Moors, is because Moors understood. The Moors always had this legacy that stated that we initiated Europeans into Masonry as we were going through a downfall, and they were the custodians. And when we wake up, they'd be right there. And then when you transpose that into the future, and then you see how abolitionists started making movements and started educating your ancestors, and they lost their life helping your ancestors and stuff like that through Civil War and through being the Underground Railroad, it makes sense. So our whole collective intention has to be rooted in the truth of the past, but also a projection of what we want in the future to be determined forever. Now, to answer your question about the mother wheel, yeah, that's documented. You know what I'm saying? There was I think his name is Carlos Diaz in Mexico, who got the best pictures of these things without a shadow of a doubt. And it was a known fact too, that I can pull them out. Like they'll tell you, like if you mess with the circle, you can ask Ali Muhammad. If y'all follow him, whether you disagree with him or not, you can ask him, like, hey, Brother Anpu come around, could he pull out mothership and baby planes pop? He'd be like, yeah, he'll tell you. Because every time I used to come, I used to be like, okay, now let's focus, and boom, and then you would see it. And so there's a video on YouTube, a Hebrew Israelite, his name is Prophet Yahweh. Google it. Prophet Yahweh calls out UFOs. And I think this was like in Vegas. And the news reporter, like, hey, yeah, we're here with Prophet Yahweh. He said God gave him a transmission that he can call out UFOs. So we decided to take him up on this offer. We went to the park and we want to see what happens. And he's like, please, Yahweh, please don't make me seem like I'm a fool. Show him your glory. And he's like, look, it's right there. Right there. And he said, we did see something. Then we zoomed in and then it went away. Then he said, oh, look, it's going such and such Air Force base. It's going that way. And then the news guy calls his boss, yeah, we did see it. And we called over to Andrews Air Force Base, but they didn't answer us. Facts. This is on YouTube right now. You can see it. That same thing that he called out, I am telling you, we got the ability to do that. I personally have done it. But I'm telling you, my frequency then, I was vegan. I was on a whole nother vibe then. I was in my skinny body and I was on that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that I can't get on it and make it happen, but I'm telling you that we being the collective consciousness, boy, we are some very powerful people. And it's just so much. It's just, that's why I don't even worry about Dr. G. I don't worry about the they in the Illuminati. Like, I don't care about none of that. You know what I mean? Because it's irrelevant to your power of who you are. And plus, we win it anyway. So,
yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on, and folks think that maybe we're down for the count, but I kind of see. I see a turnaround. Like for instance, I was out today in Jersey went over the bridge. It was some crazy stuff going on. It took 2 hours to get from Delaware to Woodstown, which usually takes about 30 minutes or less. It took 2 hours, and so I was telling Abundance and Brother Sa, I said, I feel like Gilligan's Island. They were supposed to go on a 3-hour tour, and here we are, 2 hours. We're stuck, literally stuck on 495 and all of that. But folks things are just going on, crazy stuff. You see stuff going on, and you go, okay, then maybe you never know whether the delay is because if you had gone a little faster, maybe you would have been in the accident, or if you had done some things. But the fact of the matter is, we do have the ability, like you said, to change or to change things. And I've been listening to a lot of folks. They don't look like us, but they talking about some changes that are really happening behind the scenes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the point I was going to make though, when we got over there, I forgot. I was like, oh shoot, my mask, which I hate. And then I went back to the vehicle, got the mask, but I never put it on. We walked all through, Cowtown, and some people had them on and some people didn't. And nobody bothered with anybody, whether you had it on or not. So it's like, how, without saying those words, how do you just forget about it? How does it go from a global lockdown, you can't, even, cough or whatever, to people are just going back to normal? And they're saying if you fully this, you could do it, but but nobody's asking you if you're that.
Right. Very true.
And then I heard a European saying today that actually some airlines don't want folks to fly who have gotten that because of the liability that they might develop blood clots at high altitude.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, everybody's run because I want to travel. I want to do this. And I'm like, like you said, we're microwave. You said that a little bit. I'm a holdout. I'm not going to get that. You know what I mean? And I'd rather sit and but some people like, because I want to get back to this and I want to get back. And you're sitting there, you're telling us and reminding us that we have in our mind the ability and our collective power to change anything we want.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. The whole beginning, I never ever accepted the reality. There's so many times I forgot that they were like, "Oh, sir, you can't come in the store." I mean, I never ever made it my reality that I had to out of I'm worried and I'm feared, because the moment that I program my subconscious mind to accept the possibility that I am going to contract it, I just told all of my cells that you're receptive to receiving something. And for me, this whole thing has been a very intelligent virus. Viruses are intelligent anyway because they're alive, but intelligent by, you ever notice how when you sick and somebody else gets sick and then the next person who got sick, you ain't sick no more? So it's as if it left you purposely to go find somebody. That's intelligent. That's how intelligent it is. So I don't want to program my own cells to be like, hey, you are about to be receptive to something. So I debunked the whole notion from the gate. It's funny because right in the back of one of our properties right here is a whole bunch of green. And my father was asking me like, man, you touch ivy, ivy don't break you out? No, ivy don't break me out because I know what it is. And when you start getting into these studies of the mind, there's an excellent book by Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. You got people who didn't have poison ivy rubbed on them, and then they broke out. But when they broke out, they later found out that it was fake poison ivy. And then the people who had real poison ivy rubbed on them, but was told it was fake, they didn't break out. There's case studies on placebos that deal with the power of your mind. And so since me knowing that, I can't answer the question from from a person who was in a state of fear, thinking the possibility that they gonna get it. You know what I mean? Like my own father, for example, I can't answer that. I just know that you have to know who you are, the power of your mind, and you have to always move within that particular power.
And I think for the last 18 months or so, we have been inundated with I want to call it media porn that has come to just infect and turn people into these, I think mindless, I want to say robots, just that, everything that the programming was more, I think, pronounced because people had time. They couldn't really go anywhere. So they sat in front of the TV or the computer and watched it. Because what I've assumed they've done now is because not as many people may have been looking at things on mainstream. They know a lot of people are on social media. So it runs everywhere. So people, if you don't have the mind to shield your mind, you will allow yourself to be programmed. And I think that's what happened to a lot of people. And so, somehow they thought it was going to be better if they did this. And I just see like lemmings, how everybody just going over or over the cliff. They just like they're dying there, but that's okay. They're going over and over and over. And so programming the mind or getting the collective consciousness to a place where, we're not bickering and fighting with each other, but we're working together like a well-organized cell. Like if you think in terms of the cells in our body, they have to cooperate and work together in order to function in their various functions, or your cells, your organs or whatever. Because if you say to, hey, we don't like the feet and the rest of the body doesn't like the feet, well, cut them off. Well, guess what? You're not going anywhere.
Right.
You see what I mean? Or, we're tired of the heart. Well, when the heart goes, so does everything else. And so there's so many examples that you can see, in nature and in just the human form that have more of a spiritual or metaphysical, application. And it's just hard as hell to get our folks to come on one accord. But somebody like yourself, like I said, you've been able not only to bring that kind of cohesiveness together when teaching on an esoteric level, but you've also been able to, I'm pretty sure you utilize these same principles with regard with the wealth building and so forth. And we talked about this earlier because a lot of times we are myopic in our thinking. Okay, if you're all caught up in, I just got to get, I need the world to know I'm not Negro, I'm not Black, I'm not colored, I'm a Moor, I'm this, and you get that. You have to know who you are. If you don't know who I am, it's not as important as me not knowing who I am. That's the way I see it. I don't care if anybody else knows who I am, as long as I know who I am. So now that I know who I am, what am I? What is purpose? What am I going to do with my with this I am?
Right. Right. That's
So
interesting. That's very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So I'm trying to see if that's how, why you kind of moved a little bit away from, a lot of emphasis on the metaphysic from a standpoint of just it as a standalone component, and
Hmm.
maybe moved it more into more, okay, so how does this work in everyday life? How do
Right.
I, yeah, can you talk a little bit about how that
Right.
transition, or how you kind of
Yeah.
upgraded what you were doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So man, me, man. I come from the streets, man. Like, and I'm there. You just don't want to be broke. It just ain't cool. When I say it, I'm talking about financially, right? And it's just not cool. The truth of the matter is, you need finances to be able to build whatever you doing. We got cash apps going on right now. You know what I mean? Like, we can say what we want to say about fiat and all that. That's fine and dandy. It's not taking away that historical truth. Whether we was on the gold standard and all of that, nothing's taken away from that historical truth. But the pressing thing is, you need currency to be able to move things. When you understand, if we're going to say the zodiac is universal law, and it is, then technically speaking, a sense of self identification, I am, is number one. That's Aries, the realm. Okay. And so there's our reawakening minds right there, house number one. Okay. Now, number two, which is the second thing you're supposed to learn, is finances, because that's the house of money. Okay. And so when we get off into these philosophies and religion, that's number nine, Sagittarius. When we get into spirituality and meditation and wanting to escape and imagine and visualize, that's all the way in the 12th grade, called 12th house Pisces. We done went all over the place. Even health is six. That's Virgo. Even our children and love and creativity and the romance, that's five, Leo. Even family and being at home is four, Cancer. Talking and running your mouth and teaching classes and traveling a little bit, that's Gemini, number three. You want to build government and be successful and have a public career, that's Capricorn, number 10. You want to deal with technology and you want to have groups of people and revolution, that's Aquarius, 11. So you got all of this stuff. It's self, and then it's finances first. This is the universal order. We done went all over the wheel, ladies and gents. And for me, honestly, I just I couldn't never really understand how I was this master builder of society, and I come from this great lineage, and I'm God. In some schools of thoughts, the black man is God, but yet, financially speaking, I'm impoverished and I can't empower people, right? Now, not the way I would want to. I just don't want to give you information. I say we should have an apartment building and turn it into a success incubator for the next generation. So what I do, I got an 8-unit apartment building right now that I say, hey, I want to start bringing people in for the next generation to do some things. I want to be able to house people and do certain things. I'm gonna need some finances. Let me quit bull crapping and get to it. So for me, I had to man up, and it's just more of a man thing. I just had to man up and say, you know what? If I'm God over here and I'm supreme being and I can walk around with fez on and stuff, okay, I got to be able to get it in all areas of life within these universal law. So for me, I never forget. It was 2016 of December. I was about to turn 40 that February, and I started having what I call the midlife crisis. And I'm like, man, shoot, half my life is particularly over. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, I ain't going out like this. This is just no, I refuse. And so I had to identify a wealth vehicle, and that became real estate. Because see, for me, listen, if I wanted to get rich and become popular doing astrology, I can travel the world and try to do astrology. Like, I never wanted my spiritual gift and contribution to humanity to be strictly based off of finances. Other words, meaning I got a financial desire that, I got a grandson in the back room right now. I want to put him in the best schools because he wants to go to school, whatever, right? So I need this money. So since I need this money, let me go ahead and let me go start a tour. I'm gonna go see Dr. G. I'm about to go over here and speak here, and I'm gonna charge XYZ. I'm really doing it because of the money at that particular point. Now, me personally, I couldn't do that. That's just me though. There's nothing wrong with people who do it, do what you do. I'm just saying for me, my God-given gift is I give that away how I give that away. Now, when it comes to purposely creating financial wealth, I said, yo, I'm gonna go into this real estate thing. And then that's what I did. And within 18 months, I keep a portfolio right here, but I can open this up. And this is the 8 unit I told you about. I'm in this one right now. You know what I mean? That I use as a success incubator to bring the next generation to come in to be able to do media production and help me in real estate so I can help them in real estate so they don't never have to worry about the pressure. I used to get stressed out when I had to pay rent. Rent used to take half your check. And I'm stressed, and I'm salty because I don't want to talk for a minute. I ain't got no money. I'm mad. You know what I mean? And so I had to figure that out, and I want to give the next generation a shot at chasing their dreams without having the stress and pressure of utilities. I'll take care of the light bill. I'll take care of the water bill. I'll take care of the gas bill. We got internet, and you ain't got to pay no rent. I just got one rule. You ain't going to come in here and you ain't going to be booing up because you can see real estate as a way of helping you get rich or helping you get to your dreams per se. And then I'll show you how to get deals doing this technique called wholesale, which is sweeping the nation, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I keep telling people it's sweeping the nation. This technique called wholesale real estate. And I can show you, man, we didn't already did over 6 figures. I'm no joke. We didn't already did 6 figures. You follow me. I've been posting this stuff and whatnot, but this is just my rental portfolio. I decided to go rental 18 months ago. And if I were to sell all of these properties today, I just now hit the $1 million mark in assets. I ain't saying $1 million cash in the bank. I'm saying I will have to sell everything to make that happen. But technically I can say I'm a millionaire, technically in assets. I just sell it. You know what I mean? So I had to answer your question, Dr. G, I didn't feel right, being a master of cosmology and, whether I deserve to wear black fez or any fez, and I got supreme wisdom and supreme knowledge, and the black man is God, but you broke. And you can't do nothing economically for yourself, your family, let alone your people. It's hogwash, and I ain't going. I just ain't built that way, and I got to tell the truth, and that's the truth, So I had to man up.
Well, looks like but you've worked when you work with a lot of the like entertainers and so forth. Are they consulting with you for real estate, or are you looking at various and sundry things? I mean, for instance,
yeah. So that's always I've always had them come to me from the spiritual perspective, and that's cool. I got no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? For instance, it's been more of the spiritual perspective, and then every month what we do a guided meditation. If we don't do a guided meditation, we meet at midnight at a certain time of the month where it's a sweet spot to focus on your financial goals. Okay, so everybody in here getting paycheck, some shape, form, or fashion. You're getting a paycheck. All right, you have to make fiat work for you. Okay, and so there's certain universal laws that deal with it. Like I said, and then we do tap in to answer your question. Spiritualization, spirituality and visualization to make it work. Like yesterday, I was like, man, I got 2 unexpected checks in the mail. 2 of them. And I was like totally not expecting these checks. They were like refund from a deposit or something and money left over. It was just, when you get bills from utility company, you think it's a bill, but I had 2 unexpected checks. But watch this. Jupiter, ladies and gentlemen, is right there what Jupiter is in the sky, which represents blessings and good luck, is the same place where my son was when I was born, which means this is a good luck period for me, and this is a time of expansion for me. And so I'm going to be the one, when I go to the Dollar General, I look on the ground and it's a receipt balled up with $40 in it. I'm going to be the one when Fat Boy is running up the hill in the morning, I happen to look on the ground and it's a $10 bill on the ground. Out of all the people walking past this stuff, why am I the one to see it and I'm the one to get it? Because I understand that, you know, that this can particularly happen. So since I understand that this is a timeline where this can happen, guess what my visualization should be about? I should be visualizing money coming to me. I give you guys and girls, I give you all a technique to do that's very fun. It's called checking for the check. Every time you go to your mailbox, I want you to envision and really believe and know that you have a check in the mail that is for you. And even when you open it up, I want you to open it up and be ecstatic and joyful. I promise you this. If you sincerely devote yourself within 30 days of doing this particular technique with no mental reservation of any kind and really dumb yourself out and do this, you're going to have a check appear in the mail at your house. What the amount's going to be, hey, can't say, but you will get a check in the mail. That's how
Well,
powerful you are. I challenge somebody to do that.
well, I've heard of seen some of the testimonies
Mm-hmm.
for the group that you and Minister Jew do. Work together with some of those folks in that. I don't know whether that's the same or different group than what you're doing, but I've seen in years past where the testimonies that they were manifesting, thousands and thousands, as you said, there have been millions actually manifested.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the barrier between most people in achieving their higher, their dreams, if you will, of being just some people just want to live comfortable, but they always have a mentality of that'll never happen for me.
Yeah, that becomes the barrier right there. I think the barrier. I mean, it's a multitude of things. Um, it's one thing to have a desire for something, but then you don't do nothing, and we call that like, okay, what's going on here? How dare you say you want to be financially rich, but you not doing the things that will get you there? That's one thing, and then you have some people who are just 100% okay with just being average people. Go to, do some little, go work, come home weekends. I'm a balance it out with family, and I start it all over again. I don't want to be rich. I had a friend like that, and it just, I was like, bro, I'm getting money out of almost thin air at this particular point. What we doing, and I wanted him to do it, and I even paid him $500 when I closed the deal just for being the one to get me a phone number. I said, man, I need you to go over here because the guy who owned this house, they say he owns this business. I want you to go over there and get his phone number. He went over there, got the phone number. I closed the deal. I paid my man $500. And then I'm like, bro, look at this check. I mean, we turn around, we sell houses. It's just the contract to the house. We don't even own the house. We selling our contracts. And y'all, and this is the thing. Majority of y'all here are Moors, and you're supposed to, like, contract is supposed to be your thing. I'm gonna tell you this is what it is. I'm gonna tell you the divine triangle in this thing, Dr. G. As I said earlier, the Black Power movement of red, black, and green, they always walk around all militant and strong and right, they ready to F somebody up and beat somebody's behind, right? Okay, cool. That's the executive branch of government to enforce. The legislative branch, who write the laws, is where you Moorish cats come in at. And then the judicial branch is the cats like us that deal with the spirituality. Okay. Now, when you're dealing with contracts, I'm telling you, it's this thing called wholesale in a nutshell. My very first deal, a lady agreed to sell me her house for $50,000 on. That's what we wrote the contract for. And I'm gonna bring you this $50,000 in 30 days. And as soon as she signed the contract, I get on the phone, call my people, say, I got one for 65 for you. I already knew. Obviously, this only works when you got to get it at a discount so you can make something in the middle. And then you sell it to somebody that's willing to pay a little bit more than what you agreed to pay for it. My people came through like, oh, yeah, I'll give you 65. The guy across the street agreed to give me 70. But my people was mentoring me, so I didn't care about the extra 5K. I want to nurture my relationship. So 65,000. I make up a second contract called an assignment contract. I am assigning my beneficial interest of the purchase contract of 50,000 with an assignment fee of 15,000, hence 65,000 that this person agreed to. I take both of these signed contracts, I send it to the title company. Where I'm at, it's a title company. Some states it's an attorney. Send it to the title company. The title company got both contracts. They get with the buyer. When you gonna wire that money in? As soon as the title is cert, it's free and clear, and everything comes back, I'll wire the money. Title company say everything is good. They wire the money in. They sent in 65, gave the seller 50. Call me up. How you want your money? I'm on my way to come pick it up. And I went up there and picked up my first check of 15,000. What did I do, ladies and gentlemen? I sold my interest in the contract. So you Moors who know about this thing, you really should be kicking butt right about now in this particular space, because it is making people millionaires. And Chicago just changed the rules because they said, oh no, I know what y'all doing. Y'all getting too much. Y'all can only do one of these a year. Now there's a way around it, but anyway, you should hurry up and get into the space and whatnot. But yeah, I'm sorry, but to answer your question,
No,
yeah,
no, no.
we use visual. I use visualization on certain things.
But some people are
Yeah.
looking for something to do, and a lot of people are looking. They want properties and so forth. But like I said, if you could do this 2, 3, 4 times, you got enough now. You can then, instead of trying to just find a vacant property and laying claim to it and risking, being, kidnapped and thrown out of it. Why not do something like you're doing and get it, in a lawful manner,
Right.
so that you can, and then teach your children, teach somebody else how to do it. Now, is this something that did you teach with the programs that you're doing?
Yeah. So where I'm at is I spend majority of my time over at thefamilywealthclub.com, right? And I created two memberships. One's a membership. It's only $37 a month. When you first enroll, it's a one-time $100 fee, but $37 a month. There's video-based modules that deal with mindset, and then level 2 shows you how to make money through a simulation called Cash Flow, which is written by Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki. They created a game called Cash Flow. Now, listen, man, I listen to nothing but real estate successful podcasts. When asked what book have you read, everybody for the most part is going to go to Rich Dad Poor Dad. It is clear that some type of invisible intelligence that we call a law of God, whatever, has ordained Kim and Robert Kiyosaki to be the opener, the vortex for people striving to get to a higher financial consciousness. And Rich Dad Poor Dad has been that gateway for people. It wasn't me with that particular one. It was the game Cash Flow itself. But Cash Flow only shows you how to build passive income. It doesn't show you how to become rich. So I had to create a game within the game to show you how to become rich. So on my other YouTube channel, which is called the Black Family Wealth Club, I show you my man Van. Me and Van are partners on a fourplex. Van started in the modules in this particular building. I don't know if y'all can see it, but this building right here, me and him are partners in on that particular building. But it went from understanding the game to playing the game in real life. You understand what I'm saying? So I show you that in that particular module. And then I do have a personal one-on-one called Real Estate to Millions, where I work with you and I'll show you how to get properties and, and do your thing, man. I mean, you can get rental properties I'm about to close on a property that's worth 60,000. Guess how much I'm gonna get it for? $7 grand, 7,500 up front. And then the other 7,500, she only wants 15. The other 7,500, I pay her in 18 months. It's called a land contract, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't grab properties from subject to existing finance, which means the lady has a mortgage on it. Now watch this. This is one of the best things I can give you, but you got to have a little bit of money to play this particular angle. A lady is upside down in her mortgage, meaning her mortgage is 100,000. She owed a bank, but the house is only worth 85, and it ain't really worth 85 because you still got to clean it up after she move out, and she smokes, so it's tar stains. You got to clean it up. So let's just say it's worth 85. So technically, she's upside down 15,000. If she sold her house for 85, she still owed the bank 15,000. So she don't have 15,000. So she can't sell the house the traditional way. So now she don't want the house. So what do? Well, you do something called subject to existing finance. How much is the mortgage? The mortgage is only $700. Okay, I'll give you $3,000 for you to move out your house, sign the house over to me, and I'll take over your monthly payments for the mortgage, for the duration of the mortgage. Now, some people only do it for 5 years, 3 years. If you can do it for the whole duration, that's even better, because now I don't have to come up with a lump sum of money to pay the mortgage. So She agreed to it. I took over the mortgage. I now rent that house for $1,250 right now. The mortgage is only $700, so the remaining I get to keep that. And I only acquired the asset. She signed it over to me for only $3,000. So that's called subject to existing finance, because you're leaving the existing finance in play. The mortgage is going to stay in her name, but she's going to deed the property out to you, and you're going to take over those monthly payments. You see what I'm saying? So now this is a great way for you to build rental passive income for next to nothing with a low barrier entry, because you just may target people who got low equity and offer them, hey, I give you $1,000 to help you move. Here go 500 to help you move, and another 500, in your pocket, and whatever you want to leave it. Don't even worry about it. I'll clean it out. I have my sons clean it out, right? And that's how it works, and we've been able to build, wealth doing this, various strategies.
So do you have other businesses that you promote other than real estate? Say somebody said they don't necessarily have a passion, if you will, or heart for real estate, because then they got to deal with rentals. Now you got to deal with people, and you got to deal with them tearing up, potentially, not necessarily, but potentially the upkeep, maintenance, and liabilities of owning property. But that there are other ways that folks can get their financial house in order. Do you offer other
So I have my partner B, he comes in and he does more of the stock thing. So every third Saturday of the month we have the stock club meeting. So we have a meeting. If you into stocks and trading cryptos and stuff like that, that's what he's there for. He does that. Me personally, I'm the real estate person, and I also look for private ventures to partner with. And what I mean by that is, there was one year, Sister Kristen, she from Philly, but she lived out in Cali, and she has a all vegan bakery called Baby Love Sweetery on Instagram. Check her out, Baby Love Sweetery. And one year for her summer events, for her spring and summer events, we financed all of the events, put all the money up, and we did a partnership agreement that I'll get X amount percentage return off of each venue. So we did a partnership. She didn't have to worry about the capital because I had the capital. So I'm looking for, I like joint business. I like joint ventures and things like that. So to get your financial house in order, in a sense, there's some tools that I'll give you, for sure, whether you come from the Dave Ramsey school of thought of dealing with debt first and squashing out your debt and getting rid of debt. Me, I'm more of a Grant Cardone person. I got that style as well, where it's time to get busy and let's look at some deals and get inside some deals to get your money working for you. Because you may not want to deal with like today, right before we got on, I was just at one of my tenants' house because her kitchen sink is clogged up. But I don't mind. She paid her rent already. She was first this month, actually, to pay out all my properties. She was the first one to pay me this month, So the first come fast, as you know. And for me to look up, that was $700 in the account that came from that one particular property. So the trade-off is worth it for me, all day. I don't get those calls all the time. You know what I mean? And we getting money while we sleep at this particular point, so it's worth it.
Well, yeah, I know people. I see some folks in the chats, talking about the, gold and silver is the only real money, but you can, if you're making the fiat, you can invest that fiat into stuff.
Yeah, you trade it in and go get it. Listen, how you gonna get the gold and silver? What you gonna purchase it with?
I use fiat.
Exactly. Yeah. So you should be Mansa Musa. If you the gold person, you should be Mansa Musa and have all the gold in the world. So go ahead and get this fiat paper, trade it in for the gold, and let's build a kingdom there.
Well, I just think in terms of we have this affinity to the fiat, except right now all we really have is the fiat to even acquire what we call the real. So we've got to be a little bit more flexible in our thinking and look at it as a means to an end. It's not the end of itself, but it's a means to that end.
Dr. G, you know what? can I just say this? Let me say this.
Say what you want.
Because I kind of feel like spiritually you said something to me, right?
No.
Telepathically. And I'm gonna come from a man perspective, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking to men. Ladies, I always let the ladies be exempt because I just come from a certain school of thought that I think men should be providers and be warriors and really pave the way, right? And you have to be careful with, okay, it's fiat, but if it's fiat, then why ain't we bossed the hell up and we able to get a lot of this fiat so we can progress our families and ourselves in the nation we say we are part of and want to build forward? What happens is you can start to, the fiat becomes the block. When you asked me earlier, what's the block? What happens is we develop certain negative connotations towards certain things like finances. Knowing it's good and well is important. Knowing good and well you ain't about to walk in the store and feed your baby. I don't care if you getting your baby kale. If you ain't no gardener and you ain't growing it and you got to go get some food, you ain't spending. You keep it real. You know what you spending. So stop the shit, please. Now, boss up, man up, and go get it. Right. So some of that block B, we assign a negative connotation so we don't have to man up and do it. See, I'm going to tell you something about money and what I learned about everybody around me when I jumped on this, because only a few people came with me on this particular journey. You know what it is about finances? It's a quantitative thing, meaning you can measure your success based off your bank account. If you're going to use money as the way of keeping means. Now, I ain't talking about your philosophy. I ain't talking about your knowledge of healing people and giving people herbs. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about, I challenge you to play a financial game since it's fake and you the master builder. I challenge you to play a financial game and use finances as the report card and scorecard to see where you're going to be. I'm telling you straight up off rip. Again, I'll pull them out. I'll do a screen share. I don't mind. I played this game and challenged myself, partner, to go ahead and build $1 million and do it. So what I'm saying is be careful of the perception that you use, because that'll be your crutch to keep you from stopping you from becoming a man. Jesus Christ, man. That's all I want to say. Man.
But you know what? I know what you're saying, because I got a call week before last, I guess, or last week. Well, the appointment was last week from my, the bank. I still have, fiat in the bank, and they wanted to have a meeting with me about my finances, about looking at what to do, how to manage my finances, because they noticed I had a certain amount in there, and when you get to a certain amount, they offer you things.
Right.
And I told them, I said, well, don't get excited about that amount. I said, I'm doing some work on my house, so it's going to go below that threshold number. And but then again, it may not. But but I saw this as they said, and you qualify for this. And I was like, well, I just got one of those where you can get another one. Maybe you want a rental property. And this
start giving it to you.
This is PNC. I'm
they start giving it to you. And so that's the name of the game. They start giving it to you.
Yeah.
They will give
it. I'm retired. So, but the thing of it is, like, you're right. There are certain things that come at certain levels and certain things that you take for granted. Like, I mean, I like being in a place, and this is not braggadocious, but I remember when every now and then I still do it. And then I think, why did I do that? I see something that I want, and I say, how much is that? When I really know that I don't have to ask how much it is, but it becomes a habit, from before, we kind of like, can I afford it? When I know I can, but you still have this habit of asking, like, if you want it, then take it, then say, look, I'll take that. I'll take that. And I mean, it's not that I can't do that with some thousands and millions of dollars, but I'm just saying, sometimes even with little things, we want to know, well, how much is that? Which, as if that is going to determine whether or not you get something or whether or not you do something. You need to put it in your mind what it is you're going to do or what you want or where you want to go, and do it, and realize. I think it's almost like taking the steps, and the steps appear as you take the steps. Like you said, the bridge. There's a gap between. You talked about the wealth gap, right? So there's a gap between where I am and where I want to be. Well, if I never take steps towards where I want to be, make those physical steps, if you will, so to be, or emotional, or whatever the investments are, the bridge will never be complete to get me there. You had to step out what some call on faith, or whatever, and
Right.
and then you saw that it worked the first time, it worked the second time, it worked enough that you're now able to teach and show others. And not only that, you're saying you're investing in others
Right.
who are doing likewise. And so it reminds me, back years ago, you used to see these financial real estate gurus on TV, and they'd have these seminars, and then when you got there it was free, but by the time you left you had spent maybe 5 grand, and you had to study, and maybe they said, oh, we'll partner with you, you bring us the deals and all that. But here you are saying that you're doing that, and you're not doing it for a 5 grand class.
No, not at all. No, not at all. And I don't knock the ones that do it. It's they getting it for sure.
But see,
My
but a lot, before you go, a lot of them make their money on the folks that run to the seminar and don't do anything with it. They just, you know what I mean? They
right,
have pipe dreams, but you're actually working with people. And if you're only invested after the first $137 a month, if at any time you decide that's not what you're going to do, then hopefully you do that in the first 2-3 months. You'll know whether it's for you or not, and you will not have lost,
right,
5 grand or 10 grand.
right, right.
And I think, and I'm just thinking, tell me if I'm wrong, that with your intuitive, or you called it something else, with your cosmic, and I need to say this, but with your ability to look at, cosmic, movement, and the numbers and all that, you probably institute that in what you're giving people.
Right. So, in the backdrop, I don't make spirituality my main drawing point anymore at this particular point where I'm at. Um, because see, watch this, y'all. Watch this. If you go look up
Oh,
keywords for the planet Neptune, you will see that Neptune rules Pisces, which is the 12th house, which is the last last sign of the zodiac. This is where you graduate and you go off to the university, meaning when elementary school is elements, then 12th grade, that's when you a senior and you complete 12 inches on the ruler. I always wonder why the number 12, it could have been a whole nother number than 12. So this thing is a zodiacal celestial science. And when you get to the 12th one, when you're dealing with imagination, when you're dealing with visualization, when you're dealing with spirituality, all of those are Neptunian, Piscean, 12th house things, the last thing you're really supposed to learn. And the negative aspect of those energies is called drugs, escapism, confusion, and you're delusional as hell. And and it's a thin line between saying I'm visualizing that I got me, we all got our own land somewhere and this is ours. I'm visualizing and I'm believing it and I'm acting like I got it before it's here. Some people look at you like, oh, he lost his mind, he's delusional. But my point is, these principles are everything has a polarity, right? A positive and a negative. So all zodiac signs and planets have a positive attribute and what we would call a negative attribute. The negative attribute of the spiritual sciences is escapism and being delusional. So sometimes what happens is when it comes to finances, then if you put spirit stuff first, these people are delusional about their money. So this is, let me be clear. They'll show up to a full moon activation because the full moon's in Taurus, and Taurus is the sign of money, the bull behind me, like on Wall Street, right? And they think they can magically manifest money. And it's not that you can't. The problem is imagination works best when you have a physical vessel to direct your mental current to. And a lot of people lack a wealth vehicle. They raise their hand and say they want to be rich, but what are you doing well, can your vehicle even hold the money that you say you want to have? And how you going to get there just being an Uber driver? It's not going to happen. And so a lot of times people become just very delusional. And I don't want to deal with that. I want to deal strictly with people who have a strong sense of self and they know where they're going. I don't have time to be doing pep talks with no grown, you're a grown man, bro. I ain't got time to be pep talking you and let's go get it. And you're gonna be okay, brother. No, 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 no. No, no, no. We know what it is and we know what we should be getting to. And then what we can do is, hey, here come this monthly meditation that we about to do and visualize some things because this is the portal that opens up. Hey, when you launch your business and you about to do this new LLC or this trust that you about to do, it'd be best if you do it at this particular time. So it's running in the background, kind of like on a computer for Windows. You hit Alt Control Delete and you go to Task Manager. You see all the processes that's running in the background and whatnot, but you can't see it any other time. So spirituality for me is running in the background of things and whatnot, and not at the forefront.
Well, I wasn't implying that it was at the forefront. What I was, I guess, what you may have misunderstood me. What I was implying that because you have those insights, you're able to, when you're given advice and so forth, and you know when the best time, you got that. You would of course, those who are your students or the members of your platform would get the benefit of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's how I understood it. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
right.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They get the benefit of that. I was just saying as a disclaimer to people, I don't come looking for that first because I don't do it first no more. So
Well,
yeah.
see, when
Yeah.
we met 10 years ago, that's what I knew about you. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
You did an aura reading, which I still think I got a copy of around here. You had a
Mm-hmm.
machine that
Mm-hmm.
read the aura,
Mm-hmm.
and my green my heart chakra was like way out there.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
remember that. So and again, like I said, the your ability to decode. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, you did Hollywood and you did Philadelphia, and did you do tours also of
Yep.
Philadelphia?
Yep.
Okay,
I was doing tours in Philadelphia. Yep. Yep.
okay, yeah. So
Yep.
a lot of things that this again to so there are classes that you offer a membership. With the membership, there are on-demand classes, regular. Me, I guess you do some webinars, and you also
Mm-hmm.
have a monthly meditation where you're focusing on helping or assisting the members to manifest or focus on what they're trying to do with their businesses and so forth.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep. That's where I'm at these days, doing exactly that.
let me change the subject just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I had as my guest Brother Dwayne Hendricks, and who's from the Wayne Williams Freedom Project, and he does some other things. And Brother Melly Mel, the Hood Postman from I think he's a former. Let me get it wrong. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know whether he was a Crip or blood, so I don't want to. I don't want to
Okay.
mess it up. But anyway, they were talking about they have a group called United Streets of America, and
Mm.
they're bringing they're like some of the OGs, at least Melly Mel is the
Right.
OGs, to bring together to the younger Bloods and Crips on a more positive, unified. Let's rebuild or reawaken real melanated manhood, and to change the narrative. I think is their focus, that the narrative has been written for these Bloods and Crips and other so-called gangs, to bring them more to be tribes and brothers and build. You said something when I mentioned that they were coming on because of the red and the blue, and
Right.
and you yeah, and we were
Right.
talking. Can you expand a little
Yeah.
bit
Yes,
on
ma'am.
that?
Absolutely. I'm a big. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. I love America. I got a new documentary that's coming out that's gonna blow some heads out. It's gonna blow some heads away. That deals with the fundamental truth that there was a secret plan to destroy slavery, and it happened. And I'm talking about it was already there before the Declaration of Independence, and these same gentlemen who were in the Continental Congress end up carrying it out. Now, to speed that up, because when you're dealing with this, like one of the flags I may have behind me, y'all can see the circular one. You're dealing with this whole red, white, and blue. and the white is just the truce. It's the white has always been symbolic for a truce flag. Okay, now the red and the blue has been synonymous on a few levels. One, you have Sirius, looks like a blue star. Our sun looks like the red star. And on July the roughly around July 1st to the 4th, and January 1st to the 4th, there's a celestial phenomenon that's happening. One is known as the aphelion, and the other one is known as the perihelion. One is when the earth is closest to the sun, but what's really happening, ladies and gentlemen, is if you were to draw three dots, horizontal, dot, 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 on January the 1st through the 4th, our new year, the dot to the far left is going to be Sirius, the dot in the middle is going to be the earth, and the dot to the right is going to be the sun. And then it's vice versa on July 1st through 4th, where the dot on the left is still Sirius, but the dot in the middle is now the sun, and the dot on the right is the earth. Okay. And so, again, when you deal with July the 4th, the sun appears to be about 14 degrees, 13, 14 degrees Cancer in direct alignment with Sirius. Well, opposite July is January. That's when the earth is in alignment with Sirius. So if you ever hear somebody say Happy Jew Year and Happy 4th of July, they're pulling and tugging on your emotional cord. They have absolutely no knowledge of the celestial alignment that's taking place, because we know for a fact that this star, it can go all the way Sirius, goes all the way back to Egypt, it goes all the way back to the Dogon, who got a vast knowledge, like a very vast knowledge of what's popping with this particular star. Okay, and so these are celestial events. So from Earth, the red and blue star is Sirius in the sun, and I've just gave you the science of when this alignment takes place. You see Sirius and the sun together in the July timeline that we're going to get to next month. You don't see it in January because, the sun ain't in alignment with Sirius because of the way the earth is positioned at that time. And so this is an absolute great time that you need to be celebrating. So that's the celestial red and blue. So then what happened was there's a prophecy in the Hopi Native Americans out west to talk about the red and blue star Kachina. And when these two align, it represents this great awakening. Then later becomes another form of cosmology / theology, study of the gods, in the Nation of Islam, that talks about this universal change where this red star appears. Okay. Now, that is all in the celestial, imaginative archetype of what's happening on the ideal plane. On the physical plane, there's a red and blue that's kicking ass. They just happen to be kicking ass against each other and not towards the system that they say oppresses them. And that became Crip and Blood. And so the unification of the Crip and Blood is the fulfillment of universal change. This is why Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, and YG, okay, was the ones that in that generation was able to bridge a gap and whatnot. And, one of the better songs was F Donald Trump. And then from the older generation is salute to Big U, who's a Rolling 60 Crip, and Whack 100, who's a Pyro Blood. Okay. And there's some work that has to be done clearly between these two factions where they get on the same accord, and it's going to be lights is out. And what I mean by that is it don't necessarily represent lights out from a violent standpoint, because you got to remember, this is the premise. I'm gonna get y'all to play. Let me get the picture so I can get y'all to play. This is the play. I don't know if y'all can see this like that.
We can
Okay?
see it.
This is the play. Now, remember earlier I talked about this cosmic alignment. Now, but y'all got to understand that Nat Turner's rebellion was pretty much a prophecy that he was saying God showed him during the eclipse. One of the eclipses happened like February the 12th that year. That's Abraham Lincoln's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. But the rebellion wouldn't take place until August 21st. Okay? Which later became the same date the American eclipse came on. Then I told you it's another eclipse that's going to cross the pattern of the first one that's going to make the spot in Maconda, Illinois. And as somebody verified in the chat, they went down there and they saw that Maconda sits in Union County. Now, the Union was in blue, and the Union is the one that absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, hired Miss Harriet Tubman. Nobody talks about Harriet Tubman was a Union spy, and they don't talk about how Colonel Dave Montgomery from Ohio gave Harriet Tubman guns and they put the work in against that Confederate boy. Nobody talks about this part of the history in the game, but that's okay. That's what I do. I'm a Union soldier. That's my thing. I love that thing because now we can see the play. Once we see the play, and you understand that 40 acres in the mule was a special field order number 15 that came from William T. Sherman, who the Southern white boy can't stand William Sherman. Because if you go look at a seal, somebody Google image me, open up another tab and look up the city seal for Atlanta. Watch it be a phoenix bird coming out of a fire, and they got a Latin term called resurgence, which means to be born again. Why do they have that? It's because William T. Sherman and the Union Army, they burnt Atlanta down and shot the city up. Told the Confederate John Bell Hood, get all the babies and the women up out of here because it's about to get funky. We about to burn this thing down. Thank you. Okay? So they burnt the city down. So the Southern white boy know the truth. He know that the Northern white boy, the Union soldiers, and which ones I'm telling you came and put some work in. William T. Sherman from Ohio too, my turf. All right. And this is the one who wrote Special Field Order, which is your 40 acres in the mule. Okay. Now, why am I saying that? Because the Union implies that there must be some type of unification. What unification must take place? What's the colors? Red and blue. The white is the truth. So there's a unification that needs to take place on that particular level. Then it's another unification and acknowledgement that needs to happen. I'm just going to be real with you. The people who we call copper, melanated, Moors, blacks, whatever we want to say, okay? But I don't play the semantics game because you know exactly who I'm talking about, okay? There needs to be an official recognition that is done for, I'm just going to have to keep it a buck with you, for Abraham Lincoln. All right. Now, the Moors ain't got no problem with saying that he was Melungeon. He comes from a Moorish family. He was taught by Pascal Beverly Randolph and so forth and whatnot. All right, cool. But I'm saying the culture itself be on some BS and be acting like the North has some type of trick and it wasn't about slavery and it was about something else, which is 100% false. And I'll give you the facts. Only thing you got to do is go read Mississippi's secession speech and go read South Carolina's secession speech, and you'll see South Carolina said, we live in the United States of America, and they said the word slave at least 18 times. Mississippi flat out told you that none can bear the heat of the tropical sun besides the Negro. They told you this in Google Mississippi secession speech. Yale College is gonna have it and read it. They're gonna tell you. So if anybody come telling y'all that slavery and the Civil War wasn't about slavery, they're lying. I'm just gonna flat out tell you they're lying. It's not true. Okay. So get back to your question on this Crip and Blood thing. It's the unification of this red and blue to seal this whole thing up to make it come complete. And once you start to see that happening, it's just going to be lights out for revolution. And that revolution can only be dictated how we dictate it. You know what I mean? It could be gangster or it can be more of a legislative process. So if you want to become like Israel and carve out a 51st state, then you got the consciousness and do it. I always said this, man. Listen, man, I can Voltron this thing, Dr. G. The Voltron to me is, listen, give me Taj Tariq Bey in law. Give me Ali Muhammad. I don't care that they got conflicting ideologies. The question is, do they have truth and do they have progress? And I'll tell you another one that's thorough on law, legislate. Like, give me Polite. He's thorough when it comes to that. Now, are these people perfect? No. Am I perfect? No, absolutely not. I'm talking about a legislative body of politics who got the capacity to build and understand. Oh, the state of Michigan says that you can form a village. A village is basically like a suburb, and then you can form out your little city. Y'all Google image Bexley, Ohio, BEX, what is it, ELEY or BEXLEY, Bexley, Ohio. Bexley, Ohio sits in the middle of Columbus, Ohio, and it's a rectangle where the Jewish people came and formed their own city within the middle of Columbus. On every side of the rectangle is the city of Columbus. You can do the same thing. We can do the same thing. But what is it going to take for us to do it? Do we want to say that Illinois, the land of Lincoln, should be the 51st state? Because do you know in Illinois, Illinois is trying to secede from Chicago because they feel like Chicago gets too much government aid, and they say Chicago should be the 51st state, and they want to secede from Chicago and make it a 51st state. Google that, and you'll see that what I'm talking about. And what I'm telling you is we have a problem where we do not address the elephant in the room called racism and what the solution is. And if you know that Islamic law was here and we need to be forming these things, then if you don't form it, I'm gonna tell you what you are doing. Because if you want to get into the metaphysical undercurrent, this is what you're doing. When you observe an event like Trayvon Martin, rest in peace, and Eric Gardner's and stuff like that, your emotion is coming on and your amygdala in your brain is firing and going off. You are absolutely feeding the ether a negative emotional charge, and that energy just don't die because it's an event. It's alive in the ether, and guess what? It's going to happen again until you correct the problem, ladies and gentlemen. So in truth, when you watch negative events, you're absolutely lending an eye to create a future negative event. And science has proven this. Is called the observation effect and wave function collapse. I'm giving y'all the names. Observation effect and wave function collapse. But to will it back, Dr. G, that's what the red and blue, blood and crypt stand for. It's the unification. And we'll be on our way to the great jubilee when that happens.
Okay, all right. Well, it's interesting that that has just come up, and that you had a perspective on that, because a lot of but I do want to add something, especially since there was a recent video that came out from Dan Calloway that refutes the existence of both Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman as being real. So I mean, I know you mentioned them in what you were saying, but he recently put a video out refuting the truth that they were manufactured as a part of whatever narrative that we've been fed. So
wait a minute, who was manufactured?
Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman.
That they're fictional characters.
Fictitious, yeah. Fictitious.
Now let's look at that mindset. That's great, because now that means somebody wants you. Now look at that. Somebody wants you to believe that you was great in the time of your absolute weakest moment. Doesn't that what that mean? Somebody wants you to believe that you had a strong dude named Nat Turner and a strong woman named Harriet Tubman who kicked ass and got free, and the rest is history. So even if it is false, somebody was thinking about putting you in a better position by interjecting such thing. That's beautiful.
Speaking of interjection, we're hearing a lot lately about timelines being manipulated and so forth. Do you have any knowledge of that when you're talking about they go back, say, to the Philadelphia experiment and what happened there, and then the other thing with Montauk, and that there was actually some correlation between 1492 and 1942.
So I don't have. I read the Philadelphia experiment. I interviewed Preston Nichols. who was on my blog talk radio show back in the days, about his experiences of being in two locations at one time, unbeknownst to him. And he told me this out of his mouth on a radio show. There's a book, and anybody can do this, but this is where meditation do come into the fold, is because everybody has super consciousness. Science knows that we only utilize a very small portion of our brain cells consciously. When you meditate, you are expanding the neural connectivity inside of your brain physically. Okay, your more brain cells are coming online, and this will start to give you what was perceived to be a supernatural ability. So now I'll give you a reference. The greatest yogi book ever probably written historically has been The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda. There's a chapter in that book that talks about the saint with two bodies. In a nutshell, Yogananda had to go visit this saint. The saint said he's going to contact this guy to meet Yogananda. And the saint never left the room. You're sitting there in meditation. And when he came out of meditation, he said, "Oh, I believe he's on his way up the stairs now." And then Yogananda heard the door open. Yogananda, as a kid, went to the stairway, met the guy, and said, "How did you know to come here?" And he said, "Because I saw the guru. He told me that you was here waiting for me." And he's like, "It's impossible. The guru's been in this living room the whole time." "Well, I seen him. What was he wearing?" This is what he was wearing. He met me down by the Ganges River, and he told me try not to follow him. And I tried to follow him, but he lost me. And now I'm here. I'm not lying. Get out my way. Let me go upstairs. And so he went upstairs, and then the guru told Yogananda that this is easy for a saint to do. You had another chapter in that book, the perfume saint, the perfume swami. He can make certain scents come out the palm of his hands because they knew how to manipulate the atomic structures around us to make it conform to the things that, matter and things are. And so in my own experience, I'm giving you the theory based off what Yogananda put out. Now I'll give you my own experience, and I don't share this publicly. Now, it was my daughter's birthday. If anybody know me, I got twin daughters. One is deceased and one is alive. But if I take pictures of the one that's alive, her head would disappear in the picture, or her head is split and it'd be two heads in the pictures. I got proof of this, okay? And so I already know what it is. I don't be tripping. I don't need no condolences because it's a spiritual experience, and I'm here to teach people. This is why I don't charge people for certain. It would never be about money when it comes to spirituality. Even if a price tag is on it, it's not about money. You understand what I'm saying? Because I got certain experiences that are beneficial for the evolution of humanity. And so one year is the eve of their birthday. Their birthday was like Saturday, and it was a Friday. And I was driving down to the guitar center, because my MacBook had a certain sound in it, and I had to go get, I went to get something from my MacBook, and I came back. And then I said, my silly butt, I should have took the MacBook down there with me because it's still making the same sound. So I'm driving down the highway with the MacBook. In downtown Denver is to my left, and this is an impossibility. The only way downtown Denver would be to my left is if I was on I-70 West, like I'm going to California, then downtown Denver would be on my left. It's an impossibility for the way that I'm going down the Loop Highway. I think it's 225. It's impossible for downtown Denver to be on my left. There was an exit. When I got off the exit, all of a sudden, I promise you, I got off exit 216, which is very interesting. I got off exit 216 on Interstate 25 North. When I got back home and triangulated where I was about 17 miles apart. I was in two locations at the same time. 3 days later, the car wouldn't start. Had to get it towed to the shop. They think it was the ignition, put the ignition in there and the computer in there, computer chip in there. And a couple days after that, it wouldn't start again. They took it back. I got it back. A couple days later, it wouldn't start again. And I said, I'm not fooling with it no more. I already know what happened. I short-circuited because I was in two locations at the same time on the eve of my twins' birthday. Now, this is what I'm telling you. The sages of old knew these esoteric principles. What's one of the first things they hit you with in the Bible? They hit you with Cain and Abel, okay? The paradox of the twin. A twin is something that is identical. It's the same thing, but they showed you the thing that's the same thing can also not be the same thing because Cain kills Abel, right? And so they're giving you the oxymoron. the serpent, the ancient symbol of the serpent biting its tail. They're giving you the oxymoron. I, God, create evil and I create good. If you think there's an external devil that's separate from a God that created everything, you don't get it yet. You just totally don't get it, because the moment that it becomes independent of God, that's an impossibility. Everything has to be all inclusive from the creator that create all. Okay, it's just real simple common sense. Okay, so anyway, the point is, they hit you with this twin paradox so you can understand the thing that's identical but yet that's different. And so the twin experience for me, I already know what it is. One is here, one is not. So I could be in two locations at the same time, in a sense. You see what I'm saying? Because I was going through that particular state, and I've been initiated into Kriya Yoga by the Hindus. Okay,
Mhm.
literally in Joliet, Illinois. I've been through that initiation and was practicing those things when that happened. Okay, to verify what Yogananda said in the book that I just referenced for you guys. So I'm not aware of timelines being purposely manipulated, but I know that we can do it when we get to particular states of consciousness.
And it's interesting that you're talking about you being able to short circuit. You had short circuited the car because when my sister,
Yeah, I was going
um,
to ask you about her. She short circuited my aura box.
she had a she had a major aneurysm. I was going to say she had been she'd had a near death experience when you met her. She back in the
Mm-hmm.
70s, and but about 4 years ago she had an actual what do you call it, aneurysm,
Oh
and
man,
she's
sorry to
been
hear
in a
that.
nursing home ever since then. And it was
Mm-hmm.
interesting to me, even that she chose to stay here in that state when
Mm-hmm.
she left out before. She had actually made a decision to come back, but when she came back, she would short circuit everything, batteries, people's cars. She didn't wear a watch. I didn't remember that she did that to your thing, but she was
Mm-hmm.
like electromagnetic, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad she's still here. I don't like seeing her in the state, that she's in, in that, she's conscious, but she's not able to move or walk. I mean, walk on her own. She can kind of move her hands, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact of the matter is, yeah, she had that problem. So you remember, she was
Yeah.
able to, yeah, but she had left. So when hers came, she's like, she was coming through different realms, and
Mm-hmm.
she could hear different sounds and see different colors and whatever. And when
Mm-hmm.
she got back, it was like whoop, through the top of her head. And after that, she could never wear a watch. She was killing everybody, killing the batteries and killing
Mm-hmm.
appliances and so forth. Is
Mm-hmm.
that because the Most High and the presence of the Almighty, so to speak, or the all that is all? Is that because that we are that is that where the force of energy being that close to the source of all energy, then one would bring that back into this reality if you happen to be that close?
Yeah, absolutely. It's electric, boogie woogie woogie. You know, seriously, because I tell people all the time, at the core, we a heartbeat and we a brainwave. At the core, the human being. Like if you unconscious, the first thing they're gonna do is put them paddles on you and put electricity in you to get you going. So at the core, we light. And so when people have those experiences, another good one is Anita Morjani. If y'all never heard of her, look into her story on YouTube.
Yeah, I
Anita
have
Morjani,
dying to
she,
live or something.
yeah, she was in a coma. They said she was about to die, and she got all these tumors on her body the size of lemons. And when she came out of that coma and was perfectly coherent of the whole conversation the whole time and being in another realm, when she came through, those tumors disappeared because of that charge is you got that experience with being connected back to source from whence came thou, in a sense, right? Like you're here now, but you know you transcending and leaving out and you can come back again. And when you have those experiences, you get closer to source. That way, when you come back, man, that thing is charged up. And so now she would be short circuiting. Why she put her hand on my aura box and my computer screen turned blue. And I had to shut my computer off and turn it back on. I'm like, oh, okay, you one of those. Okay, cool. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I talked when I go visit her. When COVID stopped us for a while from being able to, but before, and she's a Piscean. I went, I know, because she doesn't talk as much, but I would say to her, I said, "You're in there working on something," and she just shook her head and said, because she was so metaphysical and, so connected and all that. And so, just the fact that she made a choice to stay here in that state, but she came back before when she was, just through me, but I guess there's a purpose in that. There's a purpose in that.
Absolutely.
Wow. Let me see if there are any comments, because we're about 11 minutes to the end of somebody says this is crazy. Just finished watching the movie Parallel. Let me see. I don't know. People keep thinking the cousin. Yeah, Nathan, you see what he said? Yakub, blessed the planet. But you don't hear me though. It doesn't fit the presented narrative. Everything in this realm can be manipulated. The cosmos cannot. It's the reason why the Bible is most hated, feared, and burned. I don't know. Maybe that's connected to some previous statement, because I kind of don't know what they are. But I think it was interesting though when you started out talking and sharing about what's about Illinois. Yeah, about Maconda and
Little Egypt.
Little Egypt. Yeah, because I've seen, when somebody sent me, maybe somewhere on this desk, someone sent me a one of those ancient what do they call it? Exotic maps.
Yeah, ancient America.
Yeah, and then you see, matter of fact, where I am in Delaware, it actually says Bahamas. I was like, Bahamas. Wow. This is the Bahamas. How could it be? This is, of course, you see me. I feel like I'm in the Bahamas today. I am soaking wet. I'm sweating. I'm sweating. But this has been such a this to me. This has been a wonderful. This has been great. Like I wasn't sure what exactly. We're going to talk a lot more about the real estate and so forth. But I really wanted. That's why I called it the the undercurrents, because I knew that's it. I know that's in you. I know that's in you, and that's how I met you. So someone here is asking, how do they connect with you? I do have your website. Is it? Or is it?
I just tell people to call me, man. You can call that Google line 267-403-4078. It's 267-403-4078. And I see that question. Bodhi Wata asks that, have I ever read the Red Book by Carl Jung? No, I haven't. I haven't went past Carl Jung and his synchronicities and whatnot, but I haven't read that particular book. And then I guess somebody asking D-Ross, should we work with Saturn? Woo! Listen, hey, Saturn is the billionaire teacher right there. Saturn is the aspect of our consciousness. The answer is yes. I just did a video on that on Hip Hop Astrology TV on YouTube. Saturn is the part of our consciousness where we say, you know what, it's time to get physical and build. It's the planet that deals with crystallizations and form of ideas. So Saturn don't want to meditate. It don't deal with that. It deals with how do you build the physical temple of Solomon. Let's go get it. It's your success and your discipline. Those are the things that Saturn represent. So when you work with Saturn, you got to be, there's a spiritual and physical component. There's the physical component is you're ready to really build, because Saturn technically rules the southern region of the sky. The southern region of the sky is when the sun is at the highest point of the day. And this is the Capricorn energy at that particular time in the sky. And so this is success and doing things in the public and your reputation and fame and things of that nature. So to me, you work with Saturn when you're really ready to focus on being success in your endeavors. And then the spiritual component is when you're ready to resolve the negative karmas that you have stored within the soul.
Wow. So when people talk about their Saturn return, is that approximately what, 27 to 30 years, every 27 to 30 years or so?
Right. Yeah, about 28 to 30 on average.
28 to 30 years. And that's when they're like, is that more of a time of testing of the meta of who you are, so to speak, reaching a crossroads or so forth, of do I go this way?
Right. So it's a symbolic cycle of the decisions that we have made. So you can catch it in 7 year intervals, hence the circle seven, 7, 14, 21, 28. And so we don't live in a perfect circle. Sometimes it may 28 years for a circle, sometimes maybe 30. But it's based off the decisions that you made. And so if when you turn 30, it's like, okay, you no longer a little boy no more. This is why one of my favorite subject, well, Meek Mill is like, man, I'm 30, as if he old now. But anyway, he's like, man, usually you go through an awakening, you realize, man, snap, I'm not in my 20s no more. And if you still living with your mama and you on the couch in the basement type of thing, life could appear to be hard, but it's based off the decisions that you made. What were you doing all in your 20s? So the cycle is symbolic for taking responsibility towards your individual success. That's what it's about.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and if someone wants to know more about the astrology, because I'm pretty sure that you've piqued a lot of interest with your knowledge, are you still open to give that, or is it just would it just be in context of being a part of
N-
the
No, no,
group?
no, 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 no. It's fine. So on my website, my other one, myastrologycoach.com, there's something called the self activation workbook. We created that workbook out. When you pay for it, I email it to you. I don't physically print it and ship it. I email it to you. You can print it. The goal is for you to learn your chart, hence it's called self-activation workbook. The goal is for you to learn your chart. So the workbook can ask you questions. What house is the sun in? Oh,
Is
the
my
sun is,
astrology what?
coach.com. And if you go to shop books, you should see it, self-activation workbook. So it asks you questions about your own chart, and then you have to write a sentence and a keyword about it. So for example, the sun was in the ninth house for me when I was born. So what's the ninth house? The ninth house is the house of philosophy. What's the sun? My identity. Now make a sentence out of it. My identity is strongly connected when I teach philosophy or learn philosophy. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
the goal is to teach you about your own chart. You're answering questions about you.
Mhm.
Okay. So I created that workbook for you to self activate. And then one of my favorite books, there's only one astrology book I think you really need, honestly, and it's called Planets in Transit by Robert Hand. That's a book that you shouldn't loan out, but that's the one. I love that book. Planets in Transit by Robert Hand. Hand always gives me the compliment of what the energy is that's different from mine, and it just compliments me so well. And it's just a wealth of knowledge that comes from that guy. He's blessed, man. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay, that's what I put it in the chat. If anybody is, I put a couple of the books that you mentioned in the chat. Let me see if there's anything.
I appreciate you too, Bodie. Thank you.
Yeah, I do appreciate, and I'm going to say this. We offer a USB drive with a lot of information on it, and it was someone had the audacity. Of course, it helps support the House of Real Awakening Mind, and someone had the audacity to put in there, contact me, and I'll give it. They're going to give our drive for free. I mean, and any of you all who contact that person to get a bootleg drive, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'm just going to psychically know who you are. You get
Yeah.
the information like you're supposed to, and you get it from us. It's we do it when you purchase it. I mean, I really don't care about people sharing it with their families or something, but you don't come on my platform and put a post in on my chat that you're going to give away something that I offer for a fee for free.
Yes,
So
you're
come on. I'm like,
right.
I said in there, are you serious? Serious. You're not,
Yeah.
that's like the same people that take all my videos from Friday nights and they're monetized. They replay all the Taj Tariq Bay on theirs and they get paid. We're not monetized. I don't get
Right.
paid by,
Right.
I don't want, I don't want YouTube to pay us for what we're doing because, sometimes I'm going to say some stuff that probably doesn't meet their community guidelines anyway. It's called truth. But
Yeah.
I want to thank you, and I would love to have you come back. You
Yeah.
know,
Anytime.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, because I'm thanking the those who are on the live because they really you all have really been putting in some good comments and questions. I don't see any mean faces. Sometimes, you get those mean faces when they put those little whatever, because you spoke truth. You spoke truth. So appreciate it. Please go out and get some of these books that Brother Ampu noted, and go to his website if you are interested in knowing more about wealth building and real estate, or if you want to know more about astrology. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you offline, because now that I'm in a position to do that, I need to do some more things with finances. And I used to be in that, but I wasn't actually purchasing housing. I was the director of real estate and housing, and I know kind of how things go from a government standpoint, but never ventured personally. And I've let some things go by that probably I should have indulged in.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like to say, Rain, you asked a good question, but we out of time. That's a
no, we're not. Go ahead. You can answer.
It's they asked a question on how do you actually do astral work outside of themselves with the heliocentric mindset, and I call that the vision of God, because now you're looking at the entire cosmos as if you're God. You created the cosmos, and here's a solar system ahead of you, versus looking on Earth. And on Earth, there's a great illusion because it looked like the moon changed shapes and stuff, and it physically doesn't, but it looks that way. So there's a great illusion on Earth. And when you get to God vision, which is more like a heliocentric model, but even just not looking from the sun, you want to see the sun too, from a universal model, that's where the game is. But it's a whole nother conversation, because then there's a theory of it, and then there's an activation of it. And I'm very much about practicing things. Yeah, saying something, Dr. G.
I'm only saying
about
something.
to go somewhere with it. You asked where people can reach me. I mean, I'm over at the Family Wealth Club is where I'm at these days. Again, I'm really building real estate and helping people around me secure themselves and their family through real estate. And then my partner B is over there showing people how to get in on this cryptocurrency. Like I see somebody put in there, cryptocurrency is the next move for sure. So he's teaching people that aspect. So thefamilywealthclub.com is where I'm at. And like I said, if you got a question, feel free, call me at that number that's on the ticker, 267-403-4078.
Well, it's been wonderful. I've been hot, but it's been good. I'm on day 2 of eating white.
That's right.
I'm all raw or juice. So
there you go.
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Brother Ampu, again thank you for a great show. I mean, you are an excellent expositor, and I'd love to have you back. To talk. If anything is coming up that I may not even know is coming up astrologically, or something that we need to talk about, shout out to me, because when it's coming. Maybe
absolutely, I got you.
All right, thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you each and every one of you for being with us tonight. Another great show, and we'll be back. I'll be back next week.
Peace, everyone.
Peace. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me.